Today we take a look back at the year that was, in my very first camping season in review. Hey everyone, thanks for joining me, and as you can see, we are not out in the great outdoors enjoying everything that Mother Nature has to offer. No, we're indoors today in the Lazy Camper studio, which is actually just my basement. I don't really have a studio. We're keeping it casual today. Matter of fact, I'm not even wearing any pants. Now it's awkward. To tell you the truth, I was not planning on shooting this video indoors. I had everything set to go for my first winter camping trip and my first winter camping video. I was going to shoot that video and I was going to shoot my season in review with the beautiful backdrop of all the snow and the trees, all that beautiful stuff. Unfortunately, the day I did plan to go, we had very mild weather. Matter of fact, it was plus 15 degrees up here in Canada. You don't see that very often in December, but sure enough, it was. I'm not gonna lie to you, I was pretty bummed. I was really looking forward to that first winter camping trip. But you know what? This is Canada and the winter is coming. You just have to wait for it. But anyways, I did want to do this video and that's why we are inside today. Before we get too far into the video, I want to make sure I introduce myself if you're new to the channel. I'm Dave, otherwise known as The Lazy Camper. If you're really into camping videos and outdoor videos, please consider subscribing. I love making these videos. This is my first year with my camping channel here on YouTube and I've been having a lot of fun. So let's get into the season in review. Let me first start off by telling you why I started my first camping YouTube channel this year. I'm a full-time television producer. I've been doing it for over 20 years. It's a job I absolutely love. And I started my first YouTube channel 2 years ago. It's all about filmmaking gear and camera tips. It's something I love to do. I still make videos on that and it's something I really enjoy doing. But I was doing a couple camera reviews where I take the camera and the new lens and we'd go out, out to a winter setting or into the woods somewhere nice in the countryside here in Canada, and I would film the videos there. And I had so much fun being outdoors, filming, doing these reviews of the cameras, doing these reviews of the lenses. I absolutely love being outdoors. So I decided to put my two passions together, filmmaking and the great outdoors, and I started The Lazy Camper. My first trip was supposed to be to the Gatineau park and I had to cancel it because they really didn't want us going over the border from Ontario to Quebec. Fine, no problem, I just rescheduled. That put me behind probably about a month and I wanted to get some videos done earlier in the spring, but that's fine. And that takes us to my first video of the season, and that was camping at Taylor Lake. It was a very simple idea. I was going to car camp at Taylor Lake. Taylor Lake is a little bit different from other campsites. You're pretty far away from other people, so you're kind of out there. It's not really backcountry because you can take your car there. But if you look at that beautiful lake and that beautiful campsite, it really makes you feel that you're away from everybody and that you're alone in the woods. It was my first trip of the season and I was a little bit nervous, and at the time there was not many people up at the campsite. I was going midweek and it just wasn't busy. That's great. That's exactly what I wanted. But that trip was a lot of fun. I was able to test out my new tent. It's a Mountain Warehouse tent. It's a 3-person backpacking tent. It worked really well. This is the first time I was using one of these smaller tents. I wasn't sure if there was going to be enough room, if I was going to be comfortable. But you know what? It turned out to be a great tent and a great setup. That campsite was fantastic. I was able to cook stuff on the stove. One unfortunate thing about that trip was there was a fire ban and you couldn't have fires. It was a pretty dry spring, early summer, so you couldn't have fires. I knew that going in, but I still decided to go because I wanted to get out there and just camp. And you know what? You have that itch. You really want to get out. Well, that was me. I really wanted to get out. One of my favorite things about that trip was the fire plane coming over top, the fire bomber. They were so close and so loud. I wasn't sure if it was happening right there, if there was a forest fire. No one came by to tell us anything. I eventually figured it out. It was just a training mission. And you know what? It was amazing to see those things, but they flew so close, so fast that it was really hard for me to capture how close those things were. So I was able to do a little bit of capturing the videos, but you know what? It just didn't do it justice. And the whole campsite just roared with those planes flying by. It's something I've never seen before, and I'm really glad to be a part of that. That trip I also brought my kayak, and that was a lot of fun. That is such a beautiful lake, so calm, so quiet. I was able to get out right around sunset and it was beautiful. The weather was fantastic. It wasn't too cold, wasn't too hot. It was just perfect. And for a while there, it was just me out on this big lake. I absolutely loved it. I did nearly poop my pants in the middle of the night when something ran through the campsite and shook the tent. Turned out it was just a couple deer that went by and hit the guy line on my tent. I got out and I just saw them as they ran away. So it was kind of funny. I wasn't sure what it was. And since it was my first trip soloing, I was kind of nervous. I wasn't overly scared. I have my bear spray. I have anything else I need for protection, but I was wondering what the heck that was. So that was a lot of fun. I had a good breakfast in the morning, and it was a good quick trip, but it really confirmed that this was something I wanted to do for the rest of the summer. So my next trip was a backpacking trip to Charleston Lake. Charleston Lake is a provincial park here in Ontario. It's beautiful. It's a massive lake. This was my first backpacking trip ever. I've never done it before, so I was pretty excited to give it a try. I had my backpack ready to go, packed it way too heavy. First mistake, total rookie mistake. I knew I was making it, but it was way too heavy. That day was also way too hot. It was 35 degrees Celsius. With the Humidex, it was like 42 or something. It was the hottest day of the summer. But you know what? It was the only day I had off to go, so I had to go. So we were doing this. The hike into the campsite actually started really well. Sure, my pack was too heavy, but it was manageable. And I found out that day that the bridge that has been closed for months was actually open and ready to use that day, that morning, like an hour before I got there. I thought she was joking when she told me this. Otherwise, I was going to have to go all around the trail. It was about 12 kilometers to get to my campsite, which I planned to do, but that pack was a little heavier than I wanted. So I found out that my trip was now 4 kilometers in, which was much more manageable considering I was carrying this heavy pack, and it was really my first backpacking trip. The hiking went well. I didn't get lost. However, I could not find my campsite. I looked everywhere. I spent an hour looking for the actual campsite. I was using my Garmin. It was telling me I passed the campsite. I was using All Trails. It said I passed the campsite. And I was using the provincial park map saying I passed the campsite. So I was getting a little frustrated going back and forth. Plus, I was kind of bushwhacking into the bush to try to find out where this campsite is. And I didn't really want to do that because tick season was there and Charleston Lake was known to have some ticks. So I had to be careful. It was very frustrating. And you could see it in my face that I was a little bit pissed off that I couldn't find it. I was pissed off at myself because I did all my research. I should have known where I was going. And I thought I did. I was trusting my devices. It just wasn't working. Matter of fact, I asked somebody, a hiker that I saw, because I wasn't sure. I was using my gut and I was going to go a little further. And the hiker told me that I passed it, that the campsite was further down. I had to double back to get to the campsite. So I did that. I went and I looked and I couldn't find it. Finally, I decided I'm going to go back. Maybe I just didn't go far enough. And I found a nice couple that was doing the long hike with their dog. And they told me I was 200 meters away from the little trail that took you to the campsite. So I kept walking and sure enough, I found the tiny little sign that told me the way to the campsite, and I was there within 5 minutes. All in all, I spent about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, out in the bush trying to find the campsite. Once I did arrive, the campsite was absolutely beautiful, perfect for what I wanted. First thing I did was I got stripped down and I jumped in the water. I'm not going to show you any videos of me stripped down because nobody, absolutely nobody, wants to see that. Now, I didn't really strip down. I was in my bathing suit, but that water was perfect. So cold, so refreshing. I spent probably about a half an hour right there. I didn't even set anything up. I just went and jumped in the water. This was also my first camping experience, camping on a platform. The provincial parks build these nice wooden platforms so it doesn't erode the ground and you have a nice flat spot to set up your tent, which is great. I did that. I had special pegs for the wood. Everything was great. That tent worked fine. That was great. It was also my first time gathering my own firewood. So I got the fire started and I decided I'm going to cook sausages on the fire with the new little grill that I picked up. And everything was going well, except I forgot the buns and I forgot my fork to cook these sausages. I still cooked them and everything turned out okay, but it was probably my worst meal of the camping season. It just wasn't good. I just was not prepared properly for this. I still ate. It was fine. I had lots of other food with me, but it was kind of disappointing. My first time cooking on the open fire with wood that I just gathered, and it just didn't work out the way I wanted. But I didn't let it ruin my night. I had a beautiful fire that night. It was really, really nice. And then I got to bed probably a little later than I wanted to. This is where it gets interesting. I actually found, before bed, I went for a swim because it was so hot. Now, I'm getting ready for bed. I decided I better check myself for ticks because I have been bushwhacking and there's a lot of ticks up there. Sure enough, on my leg, I found my first tick. I've never actually seen a tick out in the wild before. I've never had one on myself or my family. And there it was on the back of my leg. It wasn't a big one, but it was there and it was attached. So it was biting me and probably feeding on me. I did have a tool to detach the tick. I got it out, got my light going, made sure I got it off. Once I got it off, I cleaned the area with my first aid kit, alcohol, all that stuff, made sure everything was good. What I didn't do is keep the tick. That kind of, after it fell off, it kind of went on its way. I probably should have kept the tick. I didn't. So I went to bed knowing I had my first tick bite. I was a little bit nervous because look, no one wants to get Lyme disease or any other disease you would get from these ticks. I tried not to let it bother me and I went to bed. It was a good night. I did wake up a couple times. The weather did change and it was going to storm in the morning now. It was supposed to rain in the morning, not a storm, but it was going to storm. So I wanted to get out of there pretty darn fast. So I had a quick breakfast, had some coffee, tear down everything, and then I had to get back out on my walk. The walk was okay. It wasn't as hard as my walk in because I knew where I was going this time. And because that bridge was open, fantastic. So this was a quick trip. I was only gone for 24 hours. Right when I got home, I called my doctor and he prescribed me antibiotics for the tick bite. I took them right away. I had the antibiotics within 24 hours of the tick bite and knock on wood, everything seems fine now. But you know what? It really did give me a scare. Now when I'm hiking out in the woods, if I know it's not a big path and I actually have to go into the woods, I'm wearing long pants. So if you're not too far from the area, Charleston Lake is a great campsite, especially for canoe camping and for me, for backpacking. I really enjoyed it. A matter of fact, it wasn't my last backpacking trip of the season. I decided to try a backpacking trip to Gatineau Park and I wanted to try hammock camping for the first time. I smartened up a bit. My pack was much lighter this time. I didn't bring my tent. The tent was adding some weight to it. I had the hammock going and I knew the hammock was going to be a little bit lighter. So I decided to play it a little bit smart and make my pack a little bit lighter for my trip to Gatineau Park. Overall, that hammock trip turned out to be great. I really enjoyed myself. As a matter of fact, I had the best weather on that trip of all my trips. So that was great. When the weather is nice, it really is a pick-me-up. It was an absolutely beautiful spot and I really enjoyed shooting there. It wasn't until I got home that I noticed what I missed. While I was shooting there and recording, there was a bear in the stream, in the little creek. I absolutely did not see this bear. I had bear spray and everything to keep myself safe and I really wasn't worried. It didn't look like it was a very big bear, but I'm more ticked off of myself that I didn't notice it. I wasn't in the moment to notice this. I was too busy setting up my camera. There was no way I could see the bear through the lens because the screen was just way too bright. The sun was hitting it at a bad angle. I just couldn't see it. But who knows how long that bear was there. Again, I really wasn't scared for myself. I was just upset that I missed this moment. And I ruined the shot when I was shooting it because I was moving the camera. If I would have known it was there, it was far enough away, I was zoomed in, I could have got some great shots of that bear. And I was really, I felt lucky to have that bear be part of my trip, but I really wish I took it in and saw that bear. By midsummer, I wanted to give canoe camping a try. I don't own a canoe myself, I have a kayak, but I wanted to try canoe camping. A lot of the good spots, Algonquin and those places, a lot of them were taken by this time. If I had a free day, I was just going to take a trip and go canoe camping. Sure enough, Charleston Lake on another site, it was available. Midweek, I decided, let's go. I rented a canoe from Charleston Lake, which is great. It was also the heaviest canoe I've ever seen and used in my life. But I didn't let that stop me. I got out there and I loved it. You pack the canoe, you get out to your site. It was a great site. It was a beautiful night. I was kind of running out of time. I got off to a little bit of a late start. I don't want to be in a rush on these things. So I went at my own pace. It was actually nice. The actual canoe trip wasn't very long. Found the site, beautiful. Again, it was on those wooden platforms. I was using my tent, no problem. That was great. I really enjoyed that trip. The next day, unfortunately, it poured rain. Matter of fact, it poured rain that night. This was my first time setting up a tarp over top of this tent. It's something I wanted to try, and I've never actually set up a tarp this way. If you haven't noticed, I'm a bit of a rookie camper. And it's one of the reasons I started this was to grow my skills as a camper and being outdoors. So this is something I wanted to try. And you know what? It turned out to be great. It rained, but the tent never got wet. And then I had a spot for coffee in the morning, for breakfast in the morning, to tear down the tent in a nice dry area. It turned out really, really well. And the tarp really held up well. I was very impressed with the tarp. But overall, that trip was really nice. And I actually discovered that this is my preferred way of camping. I think canoe camping for me is the way to go. Another first for me was tarp camping. It's something I never tried before, and I wanted to give it a try. I've slept outdoors while camping, kind of cowboy style with nothing, and that was fine. I was much younger. It wasn't a great sleep or anything like that, but I wanted to try tarp camping. I had a tarp. I've been able to set it up and try different ways, different knots, all that fun stuff. I really enjoy working with a tarp. So the hike in was actually pretty nice. It wasn't a very difficult hike. It was a nice day. When I got there, the wind started to pick up a little bit. And if you watch this video, while I tried to set up this tarp, the wind got kind of stupid. It was blowing. I did not know if I was going to be able to set up this tarp, and I thought I was just going to have to sleep by the fire without a tarp. It was going to be a nice night. It wasn't supposed to rain. It was just the wind, for some reason, picked up. It really wasn't on the radar. I knew it was going to be a little bit windy, but this was ridiculous. Fortunately, I waited and the wind died down. I was able to set up the tarp. It wasn't the perfect setup, but it worked for me. And I was able to sleep through the night pretty well with that tarp. And I actually got to test out my first open fire nachos. It was something I really wanted to try. Because it was hiking in, I just didn't want to bring a lot of pans and stuff. So I literally brought tinfoil, made a little plate out of tinfoil, and I cooked up my nachos. It turned out really, really well, and I'm very, very happy. The next morning I had some blueberry pancakes. It was great. Tore down the tarp and I headed back out. It was a great experience, and it actually taught me a lot about how to set up the tarp the way I want it. And when I go to do winter camping, I plan to use the tarp. So it gave me some good experience of how to set up the tarp in different conditions, especially in a windy condition like that. So near the end of the camping season in the fall, I wanted to give camping in my SUV a try. Now, I'm not the type of person that will rig up my SUV to make it a good camping SUV. This thing has to take me to work, take the family around, the hockey, groceries, you name it. We have 2 cars, but we're not going to modify a car just for this. My wife would not let me. Trust me. Anyways, I had a simple plan. I was just going to go up there. I brought the canoe with me. I borrowed my brother-in-law's canoe. Beautiful canoe, by the way. And I was just going to have a simple time up there. I was using the car as my base, sleeping in there. I had a mattress in the back, laid everything flat. It was perfect. It worked out really well. I brought the big pan with me. This cast iron pan called skillet is massive. It's super heavy and it does a great job. I cooked up some poutine. It was delicious. I really wanted to cook up some fish, but I didn't catch anything. So poutine it was. I was in the beautiful Quebec countryside. Poutine, it just seemed natural. It was a great trip. In the morning, I made some sausage and egg sandwiches. It was fantastic, delicious. Overall, the camping out in my SUV trip was one of my favorites. I was able to really take my time and shoot a lot of footage that I wanted. It was one of those things where you just weren't rushed because your SUV, your car, whatever you're sleeping in is already pretty much set up. So I didn't have to do a lot of setup. It was very relaxing, and I really didn't think I was going to enjoy it because to me, I like to be out in the woods, away from everybody, away from the cars, everything, and camping. But it was so quiet at that campsite. There was only 3 other people there that I was able to enjoy myself. No one bothered me. It was a great trip. The leaves are beautiful. The water was beautiful. Canoeing on that lake, man, that was a great, great time. So when late October rolled around, I knew my chances of getting out to doing some more summer or now fall camping were coming to an end. I wanted to do winter camping, but my fall camping was officially coming to an end. So I wanted to do one more trip, and I wanted to do it on my bike. I wanted to give bikepacking a try. If you've noticed a theme, I've tried a whole bunch of different versions of camping, and this was the next one. Bikepack. I love biking. I bike all the time, and I wanted to give it a try. Now, of course, doing it the lazy camper way, I didn't have the proper bike to do it, but I'm not going to let that stop me. So I packed up the bike, made sure it wasn't too heavy. It still seemed pretty darn heavy, and I headed out on the road. The site was beautiful, right on the water. You couldn't ask for more. And actually, the bike in wasn't too hard. There were lots of hills, but you know what? I just took my time and I got there. I got great exercise on that trip. I went simple with this one, but you know what? It was really nice. I brought the hammock and was able to camp under the stars. I didn't bring the tarp because it was going to be a beautiful day. Matter of fact, I didn't even use the bug net because it was late fall and the bugs, there was absolutely no bugs. The fire was great. The water was great. It was a great camping trip overall, and I really do like bike packing, and I think I'm going to give it a try. But it was a lot of fun. I didn't let the fact that I didn't have the proper gear stop me. I still did everything safe, and I still had a great time. So that's it. That was my season in review. If you made it this far, thanks for sticking with me. I really appreciate it. If you watch and subscribe to my videos, look, I really appreciate it. This is a lot of fun. This is something I don't do for money or anything. It's just something I love to do. I love to get out there and I love to film stuff. And camping for me is just such a thrill. I didn't get to do a lot of it when I was a kid, but now I'm really taking advantage. I've taken my kids a lot. Look, it's something I really enjoy. And if you're watching this video, you probably enjoy this kind of stuff too. So you know how fantastic that feeling is when you go out there camping and you're out in the beautiful Mother Nature, the beautiful woods, and you're just taking that all in. It's so calming, so peaceful. I really love it. So thanks for watching this video. I have a lot more trips planned for next season, and I'm also going to do some winter camping trips, hopefully soon, and I'll get those up on the channel. Anyways, thanks again, and enjoy your time in the outdoors.